Hiya folks, we're back on the Vauxhall Signum DPF. We didn't actually buy a new DPF. What we did do was clean the old one out just with a pressure washer by back flushing it backwards and forwards. We got a load of soot out of it. We also got a load of ash out of it as well. So we had it welded up as well, so let's fit it and let's see if we can do a regeneration using my new meter I've got. So let's get it back in. I did wonder whether or not a jet washing would actually be enough to unblock this DPF to the extent where we can do a regeneration. So we had it welded up. I didn't weld it myself. Jimmy's mate welded it. I thought it was a stainless steel body, and I still think it is. And we took it to him because it had a broken bracket on it. So let's just show you that quickly. So as you remember, this bracket had broken here, and along under this down there somewhere there was actually a crack. I'll show you a bit of a picture of where he actually welded it up, and you can see actually where the actual hole was. And as you can see, he's done a nice job of the welding. And also down this end apparently he had an issue with the brackets there, so he did actually weld that as well. So it's now solid as a rock. We blasted it through this side, this is the exhaust side, and pushed a jet wash all the way through. At first nothing come out of there, it was totally blocked, and then now we had a good flow after a lot of crap come out. We blasted it down there as well, and then we backfilled it with the pressure washer as well, backwards and forwards for about 20 to 30 minutes, and all in all we got a load of crap out of it. So without further ado, let's get under the car, let's put this DPF back in, start the car up. So I'll see you in a second. Oh, right, let's get this up in here. Up we go. Let's get in there. Right, so I've put a silicone sealant gasket on that gasket face as well, because that's what was on there as well. I just got that hooked over there, like that. Right, I'm going to need to pull them bits together now. So I need some grips. That's all we needed. I've also copper slipped these bolts, folks, just to make life a bit easier if we ever have to take it off again. So that's that on there. Oh, is that going in? I hope so. Yep, that's going through, lovely. I've got the top one to do. And I just want to make sure that's sitting through the studs, which it is. Look at these gloves, that's why I don't like working on with gloves on. Look, rips to shreds, and you lose the feeling in your fingers because your plastic gets in the way. Look. Right, hold on. So this is easier said than done as well. If you've got shovel hands, you ain't going to be able to get in there. Right, that's that on. Let's get then that on. I think this is the trickiest part of the job now, to be honest with you. I've said it now, haven't I? Right, that's that on. And I think I need the universal joint on for that. And I must remember to get a new one of these, because my one from Halfords Advanced, the pins are dropping out of it all the time. So that's what I've got to sort out. Right, let's get the awkward one done up first. As I say, I've greased them up with copper grease, copper slip. Alright, okay, that's the top one done up. These two should just zip up nicely, and that's the pipe in. Got a ratchet spanner for this one, make life a bit easier. Alright, that's squeezing in nicely, and the gasket seal is oozing out. Right, that's that one. Ah, there we go. Right, both front mounts are on. Let's give that a wipe. Again, this is high temperature silicone sealant, this, so there we go. Right, we've got these two pipes to go back on up here. That should be straightforward. Right, that's a clip on, that's that one on. And this one goes on there. There we go, on you go. That's it. Right, that clip goes on there. That's them two on. Hanging brackets on. Right, we've got a sensor probe, which we've cleaned off. Looks to be clean in there. That goes back in there like that. That's a 17mm, which we just nip up. Right, just make sure it's not touching the bodywork. And then just nip it up. There we go. Right, that's that one done up. Bear with me, folks. We've got the exhaust clamp bracket, which is a 10mm, the new one I bought. So let's just clamp that up in place. And again, I've copper greased the threads on these as well. There we go. That's that. So we've just got to pull this rubber back to line it up with the bolts. Right, let's get that up there. There we go. One up. I'll get that one there. There we go, there's one. Just nip that up. Ain't got to go mad. And there we go, folks. That's the DPF back in and fitted. Bracket's been repaired, as you can see. And all we've got to do now is a regeneration on it. So let's get that done. Let's just start the car up first of all. God, it's red hot in here. Turn that off. Right, okay. So I don't know whether the DPF is going to be unblocked enough for it to drive normally, but we're going to do a regeneration. He's got a few fault lights up on here. He's got a... Let's take it up the road. So we'll just take it for a little spin. Yeah, it's got no performance still, but that could be because the computer needs resetting. And also we need a DPF regeneration, as we already knew. Well, I think it's driving better than what he said it was. But as I said, we have got an engine management light up. But we're going to be obviously trying to reset that. I want to just warm the car up a little bit before we do the regeneration, because I don't want to do it on a cold engine, because you're going to set the engine revs quite high apparently. Probably 3,500 revs for about 20 minutes, so I'd like to get it up to temperature. Yeah, it's lacking power, definitely lacking power. I remember this after I'd done the timing, because the timing belt was one tooth out. And this flew. This is the 150 brake horsepower version, and it's actually gutless at the moment. So let's hope we can benefit from DPF regeneration. Failing that, he will have to have a new DPF on it. We're just trying to save him some money. Now that we know how pretty simple it is to take off, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Especially now I've greased up all the bolts. And all the fixings are nice and supple, the rubbers. Right, folks, well, before I obviously run this car in diagnostic mode, where it's going to increase the revs probably to about 3,500 revs, I've checked the water, And I've also checked the oil. I've put a drop more oil in it. It was a little bit low. So we know we've got all the lubricants sorted out. And this is what I'm going to be doing the test with. I've recently got hold of this. This is a Topdon Art Diag 800 BT Bluetooth semi-professional scanner. And it's able to do a DPF regeneration. So let's get inside now, plug it in, and let's see what happens. Right folks, it's up to temperature now. It's giving me a couple of warning messages. Avoid consequential damage. The DPF regeneration has to be performed only once. Press OK. Communicating with the car. Communicating succeeded. Press OK. Turn engine off, ignition on. Engine off, ignition on. Turn the radio off, hold on. OK. Right, theta, communicating with temperature OK, engine speed OK. Run engine at idle speed. Please assure the vehicle is parked outdoors. It will get extremely hot and it's on non-flammable ground, which it is, gravel. To avoid consequential damage, the DPF regeneration has to be executed only once. OK. Communication succeeded. Right folks, this is the next day. I'm going to tell you a little interesting story. So I tried latching up, as you saw in the previous clip, of the me meter trying to do the regeneration. And it wouldn't let me do it for some reason. It's not uncommon apparently for scan or diagnostic OBD meters that do this facility not to do it for some reason. A lot of people seem to think it's because the DPF might be so blocked that it won't let you do it, or there might be other fault codes, which this did have. So anyway, what I decided to do then was to do a different type of regeneration. In other words, take the car for quite a long ride and keep the revs high. I kept them actually above 4,000 revs. So as you saw before that, I checked out the fluids. The fluids, I topped up the oil, but I checked the water level, which was fine. And I went for the drive. So I ended up going on probably a 10-mile round trip, and I kept the car in manual, even though this is an automatic gearbox, kept it in the manual mode and kept it in mostly second gear, and the revs were up to about 4,500 for quite a period of time. Anyway, so I've done about 5 or 6 miles, everything was fine. And on the way back, the temperature started to rise in the car, and I thought, hello, there's a problem now. And I was about 5 or 6 miles away from home. It went up from sort of 85 degrees up to 90, 95, just touching the 100. So I kept the speed down, took it out of second gear mode, just drove home at sort of normal low speed, basically, with the engine revving at sort of low speed. So when I come back, opened the bonnet up, and I found the water tank totally empty, and all over the front of the car here was loads of water. So obviously I thought it must have sprung a leak somewhere. So I had a look around the engine bay and I found this. I'll try and get you in there, but can you see this main, that's the thermostat housing in there, and below it there's the big water pipe that connects obviously to the rest of the system. Well, this was actually off and just sitting there with a little gap. So basically the whole car had emptied out its water through there. Now you might see I've got a brand new Jubilee clip on there. Well, in someone's infinite wisdom, and don't forget this was obviously done way before we had the car, whoever might have serviced it at an earlier stage before us, there was a thin cable tie. Now I've actually thrown it away. It was one of the, you know, the very thin ones you get. Someone in their infinite wisdom, and you can't really see it, to be honest with you, when you're sort of up here working. I've never noticed it. If I would have noticed it, obviously I would have changed it. Plus we've had the car in the family for 3-4 years maybe, something like that. And in all that time, that has obviously never let go. But because we was putting the engine under so much load, it obviously it let go, and that's so basically I was lucky not to have damaged the engine. So I let it cool down. I've refilled it up with coolant now, and I took it out again yesterday afterwards for another ride, again taking the revs up to 4,500 revs, because what was happening on that first journey before all this kicked off and happened, it would get up to about 30-40 miles an hour, and then it would cut into limp mode, and then the revs would drop, and then it would come back up again, and it was doing that, cycling, doing that for about 3 or 4 or 5 miles. And then, as I say, then that happened. So I had to bring the car home, as I said to you. So I took it out again afterwards. Once I put the clip on, filled it up, and it cooled down to normal operating temperature. I took it out again, and this time, it done it a little bit higher up the rev range. And then it sort of, I wouldn't say it cleared, but the acceleration from standstill, it's very sluggish, but I think that's probably because I've got a couple of codes, which I'll tell you about in a second. But when you put your foot down and boost it now, like floor it, it takes off, and I whizzed it up to sort of 75, 80 miles an hour, no problem whatsoever. So I've got a couple of codes on it, and there are ones that I've got to address. One of them is for the DPF sensor cables. You know them rubber tubes I put on? Well, they go up to the back here, and I don't know whether you can see it there, but right down there, right in the corner there, you probably can't see it. It's a black sensor there with the 2 rubber pipes coming from the DPF. Well, I've got to obviously check them out because it's not uncommon for them to fail, and that would obviously give me that light which I've got up, and possibly an issue with the pickup when it's pulling away from start off. So that's one thing I've got to investigate. I'm not going to do it today because I might need a new sensor for that, and I've got to check the hoses out and make sure they're not split. And the second code I've got to come up is saying that there's an air intake leak. So that again would cause an issue with pulling away speed. So those are the 2 main codes I've got. So the car is now usable, and he can use it because he's been using my car, the ST220. And this is the day which I'm actually going away and flying off to Cyprus. So I thought I'd better just finish this video off and tell you where I am with that. So it looks like the DPF regeneration, which I've had to do by driving it at high revs for about 10, 15, 20 miles. That looks like that started to clear the DPF. We did jet wash it, as I said to you, and back flushed it and did get some out, so maybe that's helped it. But he said before that it wouldn't accelerate at all. You had your foot flat to the floor and it wouldn't even go up to 30, 40 miles an hour or something, then it will go into limp mode. We now can buzz it up to 80, so that has actually worked. So I'm not too sure why the meter I've got, the OBD2 checker, which does DPF regeneration, didn't do it. I've been online and looked at other ones, and I've seen people with either snap-on tools or even the Autel 808 where they said for some reason theirs hasn't done it. So it's not an uncommon thing. So it's just one of those things, perhaps if your DPF is that blocked, or if you've got different fault codes which could affect the car, because to perform the DPF regeneration, your car has to sit still and rev up to about 3,500 revs for about a 20 to 30 minute cycle, I think. And if it's got fault codes which could affect that, then maybe it won't do the regeneration. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it here now, and just to let you know, that was what I found on my conclusions. If it does do the job after he's been driving it about, all well and good, but when I come back off my holiday, I'm going to have to investigate them fault codes, and hopefully then we can sort at least pull it away from standing start, get that improved, because as I say, up the rev range now, it's driving no problem whatsoever. So that did work to the extent where the back flush and the DPF regeneration, by driving it for high revs, about 3,000-4,000 revs for about 20 miles, for example, keeping it in second gear, I did. That seemed to have done the job. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this video. Not quite the conclusion we wanted, obviously, but what's the worst that can happen? It would need a new DPF, and I've got to sort them 2 fault codes out. Anyway, thanks very much, folks. I'm off on holiday now, so I'll see you in the next video, and until then, bye for now.